Hi, I am hoping I'm live. It's always so hard to tell if you're on or you're off. So this video is very specific to men. So if you jump on here, I'm going to quickly, if you're female, I'm going to ask that you understand that this is not directed towards you, and it's also a very bold topic. Not very many people are talking about this, and they're dang sure not talking about it on a live. And I think that I've just reached a point that I've heard it so much in my practice and in 2 decades of training women that it needs to be said, it needs to be voiced. And that is the struggle of low libido or low sex drive, erectile dysfunction with men, and how we're seeing more and more and more and more of that happening. Now, a lot of times it's addressed in women having low sex drive. It's almost that's just what happens to us as we get older, that we're less sexual beings than men, and so on and so forth, which is another topic altogether, which is also not true. But typically you think of the males, or the stereotype of males is that there are the sexual beings between the two of us, and we're seeing more and more in the medical arena that men are suffering from these things tenfold. And a lot of what happen if they do actually go and get help, if they do actually go and see a Western medical doctor, that one of two things usually happens. They might run some conventional labs and then find out that their testosterone is low, and then they will band-aid the testosterone or put testosterone in his body, or they may put him on an antidepressant or an anxiety med if he will even take that. And so that's commonly the treatments that are associated with this dysfunction, and unfortunately neither one of those work. And that's again the reason why I encourage you to expand your mind outside of Western medicine and see all the things that are actually out there to help you with this. It is absolutely soul crushing to lose your sex drive. It just is. And it also can be very damaging to your relationships. And I don't care how comfortable or how confident you are in your relationship with your partner, if you are not initiating or sexual behavior towards them, they notice, male or female, and it puts up walls, and then it also breaks hearts and it becomes a big mess. One part, and then tries to figure out what is wrong, or is it me? I know for the women that I work with, that's what we deal with, is that they're like, what is it about me that's not attractive enough for my partner, my husband, my spouse, to actually be sexually attracted to me? And so they begin to internalize what is going wrong, when all actuality there's a lot of things that could be happening inside or breaking down inside that man's body that is bringing about these symptoms again and again. I know I'm being very bold in talking to you about this, and that is the lack of sex drive, low libido, loss of interest in sex, and that really is what we're actually talking about here, because usually in these cases men aren't even thinking about it. It's not that they're thinking about another woman, they're not thinking about any woman for that matter. Erectile dysfunction, low sperm count, those type of things. Now, it also could be accompanied by muscle loss, fat gain, mood changes, sleep issues, mood changes meaning depression and anxiety, loss of self-confidence, digestive symptoms, and so on. But you see, the digestive system or the symptoms or the muscle loss could cause low sex drive or low interest in sex, and vice versa. Low interest in sex can actually cause muscle loss and fat gain and anxiety and depression. I mean, you've experienced that before when, your body's just not doing exactly what you'd like for it to do, and there's an ego burst for that, and you begin to feel depressed, or what is wrong with me? And again, of course, if it feeds into frustrations in your relationships, then there's more anxiety and depression and stress that comes from that. It really just exacerbates the problem. But again, in Western medicine, what you'll do is you walk into that doctor's office and you have 2 options. You have testosterone. Typically what they will do, they'll test your hormone levels, but they don't typically test your hormone balance. And then you also will have, maybe anxiety or depression, and so they offer you an antidepressant. But what I would like to introduce to you is that there's other ways, and there's other ways to deal with this situation. And in my practice, we will test hormone balance, toxic overload, your gut function, liver function. Those 4 systems we will test to figure out which one is actually breaking down. Now, these tests in particular, they can be done from the privacy of your own home. And that's another thing that makes them amazing, is that you have no idea what you can test from the actual privacy of your own home. But again, when we start talking about hormonal balance, you have other hormones in the body besides testosterone. Estrogens being one of them, and because of if your estrogen is too high, then it throws the body off balance, as well as your testosterone being too high. And so what happens is that they pump you full of testosterone. It may or may not affect your sex drive, but if it doesn't, then you just have more imbalance in the body. But also trying to get the seesaw between your DHEA, your cortisol levels, and your serotonin levels. But the seesaw between it and your pregnenolone, your testosterone, your progesterone, and they're balanced. Okay, so running the right lab test that will determine, am I balanced? Is my seesaw balanced? Secondly is toxic overload. You have no idea how many chemicals act like estrogens in our body. It's not like you're taking in estrogen itself, but when it goes in the body, it acts like estrogen. And so when you add them and they add them to your foods, and when you ingest them or your water or wherever you're getting them, then it's almost like you're giving yourself a partial sex change. And that might freak you out a little bit, but it's got to hit home. You have to understand that the toxins that we're taking in on a daily basis act like estrogens in your body. And for men, that's a big deal, because it's a big deal for women too. But in this case, it's a big deal because the body begins to be more feminine and act more feminine, and so therefore you have struggles there. This is going to be toxic overloads like lead and mercury and aluminum and those type of things. And so figuring out if you've got an overload or imbalance in those toxins in your body, that could be, again, potentially shifting your body into a more feminine state, could be a reason why it's not performing as it should or as you want it to. Pesticides, cosmetics, personal care products, detergents, plastics, and all these other things can cause you to have a toxic overload in the body. It's not something that you even think about sometimes until someone brings it up to you. And it's definitely not something your doctor talks about. The other thing is your gut function. So here's the thing, is that you can have worms, parasites, bugs in your body, as well as a bacterial overload that you know nothing about. The gut is the mother of all hormone transmission, balance, regulation, production, all of it. So it all has to flow through your gut. So if those things, if your hormones are not, if they're being blocked by something that is external, causing inflammation, a critter for that matter, then you're going to have problems in these areas and all of those hormone levels that we talked about. So again, you can pump testosterone in your body all day long, but if you have a parasite or a bacterial overgrowth, and I'm not talking about just some some candida here. I'm talking about a real deal bug that could be in your body. There's so much, inflammation in the body, joint pain, obviously the loss of the ability to have an erection. It all goes hand in hand by what's happening with your body's ability to deal with the bacteria in your gut. The way you eat food, the type of foods that you eat, all of these things cause inflammation. And if you think of inflammation like this, if you were standing in a room of 4 walls, there's no doors, no windows, and there's a balloon in the very middle of that room, and that's inflammation. And inflammation begins to just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and it just shoves you into the wall. Eventually, it'll get so big that you will not be able to function or do what you want to do in that room because the balloon has gotten so big. And that's what inflammation is. And inflammation is caused by gut issues, a bug in your system, bacteria, bacteria dysbiosis, as well as hormonal imbalance one way or the other. In other words, your seesaw is not seesawing in the right direction, those type of things. And it's also pretty much the reason why it's impossible to restore your hormonal balance. And if you take nothing from this video, and yes, I know I talk fast, but if you take nothing from this video, it is impossible to restore your hormonal balance and your sexual function if your gut is damaged and dysfunctional. If you take nothing away from this video, I hope you take away that. It is impossible. So when you go to the doctor and they only address your testosterone levels or your estrogen levels, and they do not address anything else, or even if they address your anxiety or depression and they do not address anything else, nothing will be restored until you deal with the gut that is damaged or dysfunctional. But first you have to find out if it is or if it isn't. And the last thing I want to talk to you about is your liver. Now, your liver is responsible to eliminate excess hormones in the body, especially estrogen. So if it is not doing its job, then that stuff is still collecting inside your body, therefore causing inflammation that's going to break down at some point or another. So finding out, or the greater your toxic burden, the more nutrients will be used up in the body's attempt to get rid of the toxins. So your body has to work harder to get rid of the toxins, but your liver's not doing its job, so you can see the cycle of struggle here. And it just continues on and on and on and on until it's so bad that you begin to take medicine that helps you have an erection, or that may help you have some type of drive. So again, it's super important, your liver, your gut, your hormone balance, all in the toxic load in your body. So that's why on Sniper Diagnostics, we do all 4 of those labs. Actually, I throw a 5th one in there, and that's food sensitivities, because you could be consuming something that is causing inflammation in your body. So you're looking at, finding out what the actual balance is of all your hormones. Every single one of them, not just your testosterone, your estrogen, and progesterone. We're talking about melatonin and DHEA and pregnenolone, all of those things. Your parasite or a bug or a bacterial overload in one direction or the other, a very deep issue that is not talked about enough. A test that you would do to find out your liver function. Again, all of these in the privacy of your own home. To find out if you have a hair mineral analysis to find out what your toxic overload is in your body, again, done at home. And then your food sensitivity test, which is a blood test, but you go to the lab and draw blood and then send it off. All of these things that once the labs go out, they come back to me and I analyze them, and then I develop a 90-day protocol to reverse or to coach up the areas that are broken down. So that's exactly how Sniper Diagnostics helps in this particular case. If you want more information, and guys are funny because they're not just going to post out on, in the middle of social media that they're struggling in this area. So I don't offer, consulting through Messenger. But if you want to email me, you can email me at info@jamiejmiller.com. I'll put that in at the very top here after this video. You can go to my jamiejmiller.com website and hit the work with me link. I'll also put that link in this. You can set up for a 20-minute call there, and you can talk about what Sniper Diagnostics is, if you'd be a good candidate for that. But the main thing about this video is I don't care where you get this kind of information, but I do want you to know that the current way of dealing with this particular struggle in the Western medicine arena is not working. It's not enough. It's not enough individual investigation into your body and what is actually causing the breakdown. And then from there, actually giving you actionable steps to coach it up, to change it, because it is changeable. It is not about you're just getting old. It is not about the fact that, that maybe you've never had a drive or whatever. You can truly reverse these type of issues in the body with the right information, with the right action plan. And it's not a quick fix. Nobody's going to inject anything in your butt. No one's going to give you a pill as far as a prescription medication. Through behavioral changes, specific supplements, and things like that, you can begin to actually change the way that your body is responding in this area of life and have the fulfillment that it actually brings. And there's nothing wrong with that. You should have a good, healthy sex life. And that is... that's all I got for today. I'm going to end on that note because that's a good note to end on. And I hope that this reaches you. I hope you feel inspired that this is not the end of your research. There's so much more out there that you don't know about. And if you want me to help you with that, I can do it. Okay, peace out.